Just answering questions with WebTech. Gotten it out of my system. Umpteen to take. Let's get her done. Someone decided to post some spam about the terrorist pyramid scheme system, government, big business, mobs, militaries, British colony corporation countries, conspiracy theory thing. This is a person who's living in a world that they've invented. They've decided that it doesn't matter if it makes it to where it's a better world to handle. They're going to invent a very fantasy-based version of it and then complain about that. This person isn't accomplishing anything, and we're not going to touch on it any further. The comment will be allowed to be posted because that's what they wanted. If that makes them feel better, it makes them less miserable, great. If they come back and take this as a sign of weakness on my part, or a sign that my channel is a place to post this crap and try to pick fights with people, they're banned. Abusive behavior isn't supposed to be rewarded, nor is it really punished. It should be made unable to happen. Why very dark your videos, sir? Now, don't make fun of the guy. The person's obviously not speaking English as a primary language, or maybe they are doing Yoda speak on purpose, but it's a good question. The video you're watching has a black outline, mostly. It's in 4:3 format, which is really not supported by YouTube much anymore, so it puts black bars around it. Having a black background makes it to where it doesn't show the black background and the bars. It just seems to blend in and look normal. That's number one. Number two, I started doing this out of necessity because I was doing videos at night outside of a place that had music playing a lot, because I was at the coffee shop. And I'd go away from the sound because the music would get me flagged. Didn't matter how bad it was. And I would do this in such a way that I had a background that was black most of the time. And keeping it consistent, this way I can leave the settings set like this and always make it work. Now, the other thing is, at the time, most of the time, I was homeless. And I would have to do this because of necessity for that reason too. Next one is the file takes up less space if it's mostly a black background. If it's primarily black and white, it defaults to black and white. It actually removes the color most of the time. I gave it permission to do it because my face is not really important to the story here. Next, if you don't like the video, you can pause it, read the title, read the description. That's enough. Next, most of my videos are just me verbally explaining things, or they're intensely graphics based, and I explain everything by just having it up on the screen. If you don't like the video, you don't have to watch it, and you can still benefit from it. Also, I don't have the ability to update the video. I update the description, and sometimes the title, which I'm going to be doing with one of the videos today. So I can just, I'm not needed. You can just use the content in the description. Also, pro tip, most of the links below can be cut and pasted most of the time, not always. If it's a really long string, it won't be able to cut and paste, and it might not even open. YouTube likes messing with them. Next, I did a video a while back about a 2016 incident in Utah, Beaver, Utah. Someone had a drone up in the air, a DJI Phantom 3, I believe, and it was recording in 1080p, 60 frames a second, which meant it was beyond broadcast grade by most people's standards, at least in the old days. And it recorded the flight of the thing going towards somewhere, and it picked up something flying by at an apparently high rate of speed, if it was big, or if it was small, just flying by at a fairly low speed. It could also have been mid-sized. And most of us came to the conclusion it had to be an insect. Now, I have links below to Metabunk threads. The fourth thread, you just go to the last thread, you can watch Utah drone video of UFO, probably an insect. They've actually switched gears a bit and figured out that it's probably an actual bird. I'll have an imager below that ends in 2FTW that includes one of the screenshots someone made by taking all the frames out of the original video, at least I think it's the original. They never did provide the complete video with the audio in it. It's an altered video. It has something altered in it, the intro, that might have debunked the assertion the person was making. But it could have been just a bird. And I'll have a link below to the image grabs that someone else posted, and obviously to the Metabunk video, Metabunk thread. But someone decided to post a critique, or at least they've decided to critique. I'll get to the point. The person's making several claims at the same time that have nothing to do with each other. One is the person's claiming, because this is Utah and the time of year or whatever, I'm assuming this is all their head. They didn't bring it up. They didn't explain themselves. That it had to be a B. Okay, so the person's agreeing with me that it's some kind of bug. But then the person also says that I should have looked for other video recordings made at the same time to prove or disprove that it was a military base aircraft or something like that. AFB is referred to, etc. That just could be Air Force Base. And also made some critiques of what I was doing in the video, calling it various things. Now, this is I'm going to call it a three-prong attack. One of them is just to attack the uploader. Okay, whatever. The next one is to claim that it was a B. And the next one is to claim that I should have, or shoulda, coulda, woulda, looked for anything confirming or not confirming that it was an airplane or something else from an Air Force base or something. Okay, the presumption here is that this is a hunk of equipment, whether it's a UFO or something, domestic or foreign, a flying aircraft of some kind, that was caught by one person flying a drone, but they didn't see it at the time. And it flew past the drone. They didn't hear anything. They never made a claim they heard anything. And it flew past this drone. But only the drone picked it up. That's more in line with an insect or a small animal like a bird. Or even an object. It could have been, somebody threw a, some Aussie threw a boomerang. But none of that matches up with a powered aircraft flying at high speed, going by fast enough to break the sound barrier and immediately create a thunderous cracking noise. I pointed that out in the video, or at least explained it to people who asked. But it's a silly assertion that it has to be some sort of large object. But anyway, let's go for it. You went through all that to say it was a bug. Yeah, probably. Could have been something else. The current theory on Metadebunk is that it's a bird, and there's a set of frames that were extracted from the video, cleaning it up as best they could, and yeah, it looks like it could be a bird flying at an angle and then coming out of an angle or coming out of a curve and gliding. Could have been a raptor, like a hawk or something, or even a small bird that just flies fast by gliding. Why all the techno mumbo jumbo? Okay, what I've done in this video so far concerning this video, concerning this supposed UFO, that's the mumbo jumbo the person's referring to. Frame rates, motion blur, 1080p, 60 frames a second. It's a DJI Phantom, probably a Phantom 3. And none of that sounds like mumbo jumbo, but the person's using that expression. Why waste your time? Kind of question your debunk interest to change minds. Well, this is a convoluted way of saying, I'm assuming, someone's asked me to read into this, that I'm attempting to manipulate people's opinions on something or change their minds or have an influence on people, and they're questioning my interest or my motivation for debunking. And why am I wasting my time? Okay, so that's that. Okay, know-it-all calls me a know-it-all. With your BS techno mumbo, and then doesn't say jumbo, triggered. What type of bug would it be? And then the person implies it has to be a bee, and then says that this is that Utah is the beehive state, and then says buzz buzz, and then calls me a dumb A, meaning dumbass. Last point, and then says linear trajectory. Where is it going? On the left-hand side of this drone. By the way, the person didn't tell anybody where it was happening until much, much later. Over its left side, past it, at I would assume, less than 40 miles an hour, and it's a bug. And you're insinuating repeatedly you think it's a bee. Find cameras within range. Acceleration, deceleration towards Air Force Base or military base. Over cities, Salt Lake, Hill, Air Force Base, etc. Cameras beyond downrange on CAM or CCAM. Okay. That caught this or caught this. The person's not even using complete sentences. And then buzz buzz and that sort of thing. And the complete copy of the information will be below. Okay. The assertion, I'm reading into this because the person's deliberately not completing sentences, is that there's some corroborating video recordings that prove that this was something other than a bug. Or bugs were flying around at the time and other cameras picked them up. Again, the person who originally made the video refused to provide the raw video. They call it a raw video, but it's obviously edited because they stuck something in front of it. That makes it not the original video. The original video would include frame rate, obviously, and all the other stuff I've got, and also may include exposure settings and that sort of thing. It's a DJI Phantom 3, and the default video contains metadata that tells us that so that we can analyze it. The person who presented this as a proof of UFO refused to provide the raw, unedited video recording in any form at all, period. Even the data screenshot for the metadata, and therefore is withholding information. It had an audio track most likely, and it's not there. They haven't explained themselves. They never did. What they did is they did the stereotypical thing that people who are lying do. When you ask them a straight question that has a 2-millisecond response, they could just spit it out. They won't do it, and they act as if you have to beg them for it. No, if you're trying to prove something, the first thing you're going to do is say, oh, you need the raw file? Here. I mean, it's literally that simple. Why wouldn't you? Well, it contains some secret... No, it doesn't contain any goddamn thing. It's a longer recording with some other boring stuff in the middle of it, or in the end of it, and if the person had audio recording with it, why did they blank it? What they did is they presented a video recording that dramatically presented it in short form, and then the long form, or the quote-unquote raw video, also had altering in the front, erasing the metadata in the process, or at least making it to where they could easily falsify it. I mean, you can easily falsify the metadata. But if the metadata included, exposure settings or something like that, we could work with it. So anyway, when at least we came up with the information that it was a DJI Phantom, probably 3 at the time, I guess, all of us grabbed the data about it. I think it was a DJI Phantom 3. It could be just a DJI Phantom, and we don't know which revision. Everybody grabbed the data about how it records, asked people who had one, and found out what the exposure settings would be and dynamic behavior, and started analyzing it. And again, recently, someone has gone through the trouble of figuring out that it was probably a bird flying generally this way past the camera, or would have been, and then flew in at a little angle like this, and then coming straight right past the airplane, or the drone. So it's probably a bird. That's it. So, so far we have this. Why do you record dark videos? And I've explained it. And then someone basically saying I'm a dumbass and a bunch of other crap mixed in with the assertion that it had to be a bee, and therefore also it had to be something where I should ask or look up other information. Don't have to. If a person is making an extraordinary claim and won't back it up by actually answering a few questions, and acts exactly like every shyster I've run into by acting superior and not answering, or more accurately, refusing to provide data, I don't even know how many years now, I mean, over 4 years later, by the time I did the video, I don't even remember when I did the video. Crap, I should look that up. There's no reason to believe them. They're not trying to prove their point, so why bother asking them to prove it again? If they refuse to present evidence, and prevent critique, then honestly, they don't deserve anything. And you ask, why am I wasting my time, and what are my motivations? Someone asked me to do a review of the video, and I did. The plain answer is, I do these by request. And you making this request of me has caused me to look up more data, and I found out that it's most likely not a bug, not a bee. It's probably just a bird. And the next thing is that literally the only person doing any analysis of this supposed breakthrough evidence of a UFO are people debunking it. And also people who believed in it, who are honest, saying they don't believe it's a UFO anymore, they think it's a bird, specifically. A large number of people who debunk UFO videos are people who are former believers, because they get fed up with people sandbagging this whole thing, people sabotaging what they believe in by making sure that everyone looks like a lying sack of shit. Anyway, thank you for coming along and saying you think it's a bug too. Thanks for agreeing with me. And thanks for pointing out that there's a specific variety of person that pulls this kind of shit, mixing in random crap here, because you're not going to discuss the subject unless you have your little pound of flesh. Just like the other person who decided that reality has to be distorted by some conspiracy theory about the British government running fucking everything. And I thank the person who asked me a simple question, why do I have a dark background on my video? You actually just really did ask a question. And now you know why it's called just answering questions. I mock the people who are not really asking questions but are just pulling this shit. And I also thank the people who are just asking a question, would probably listen once in a while. So why do I put in the effort? I don't know. Maybe you guys should tell me. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.